Dr. Ophelia Cabral.
And I'm Thomas Cabral.
Welcome to Healthful Living. Today we're going to talk about emotional freedom technique. This technique is widely used by professionals and by people at home. What we expect from technique is if technique is fast, effective, if we can teach the technique to layperson, if technique can be used their own, and effects are last for a long time. So it's very exciting that Thomas Cabral is very good at teaching emotional freedom technique and applying it. So first question coming, what is the purpose of this show, Thomas?
Well, the purpose of the show is to, emotional freedom technique it has been around for 25 years, and there is a lot of information and there's a lot to learn in very little time. So I'm just going to familiarize yourself with the process, talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to give you a place where you can go and learn things in a lot of detail. Everything's spelled out for you, but today is just to make things just very simple and familiar, so you have an idea of how this might be useful for you.
Today is just to introduce the technique and let them know there is a technique that you can use at home and help yourself and the people around you in a very short time.
Absolutely.
And effectively.
Absolutely. I'm sorry about that.
Yes. Sure.
Because right now, we're living in a time where things are happening all around the world, and it's the things we're seeing on the news and the things we're hearing about. People are very anxious and sometimes terrified, and we all are worrying about the future and how things are going to unfold. What does all this mean? And so we want to give you something that can help you stay calm and think more clearly as life unfolds for all of us.
So, what is EFT actually, Emotional Freedom Technique?
Well, emotional freedom technique is just like it says in the name, really, freedom from our emotion. But what we're talking about is excess emotion and mostly negative emotions, because it's the negative emotions that we have the most trouble with. And when we have excess emotion, it affects the way we think, the way we behave, the way we respond to things. And so it is based on, you could call it the cousin of acupuncture. It's like a needleless form of acupuncture. So you're working with an energy system in the body, right, that and tapping on certain points in the body, which helps you to release that negative emotion.
So it's like acupuncture pressure points, we're using some of them.
Right, we're working with the energetic system of the body.
Who discovered it?
Okay, actually it was discovered by Gary Craig. Gary Craig is the founder of EFT, and he trained as an engineer, Stanford engineer, so he has a very scientific type analytical mind. He was a personal performance coach, an ordained minister, a master of NLP, and so he was in the helping people business, and he was always looking for fast, effective ways, to do things. And so he came across a teacher of his. He studied under He studied after Dr. Roger Callahan. And he was the one who first brought this energy therapy, to the public domain. And
I remember Dr. Callahan back in 1980s.
Exactly.
And back then, the name was thoughtful therapy.
Absolutely.
And then Gary Craig made it easier, simpler, because he's engineer. Right. So he engineered the technique to use in general.
Absolutely. thought field therapy was more for the professional,
Yes.
so it was very complex. But Gary Craig wanted to. He saw that if you change the process a little bit and do it in such a specific way, then everyone and anyone can get very good at doing this type of therapy. In other words, they can benefit from it immensely.
So, what kind of problems it can be used for? What kind of problems it can resolve?
Well, it's almost unlimited. Basically, we're talking about anything that involves a negative emotion. So it could be fears and phobias and relationship issues, anger, grief, depression. You could use it with traumatic memories. You could use it with post-traumatic stress disorder. You could also use it with allergies and physical ailments, because what medicine is starting to discover is 85% of illness in the body is caused by unresolved emotional trauma.
So actually our physical problems starts in the mind.
Absolutely. And so it started out more of an emotional release thing, but as they were working with people, these people had emotional issues, but they also had symptoms, headaches, pain, and as they were working with it, those symptoms were actually going away. And so what they realized is it's not only for emotional healing, it's for physical healing.
How does it work?
Well, the discovery statement, the foundation of all this is that the cause of all negative emotions is a disruption in the energy flow of the body. Okay? Now, our body has many energy systems. You get the chakra systems, you get the meridian system, which we'll be working with, but there's also the neurological system. It's electrical.
Arterial system,
It's
venous system.
all electrical,
It's
all
like,
energy.
Can we say like they are energy vessel system also?
Absolutely.
All right. Energy network.
It's an energy network. And so here's the thing. This is really interesting, because most people thought emotional trauma, emotional causes were caused by a negative event, like a negative memory. But it's not quite the case. That's the traditional thinking. This is caused by a disruption in the energy field. So that makes this whole thing different, because what that means is it's one problem for all those negative emotions, one specific cause. So when you address that one specific cause, this therapy, emotional freedom technique, can treat a vast array of things, because you're not treating the memory. The memory, that negative experience contributes, but it's not the cause.
So what happens is we experience a problem. That problem can be very acute. We may be experiencing it now, or that problem or a negative memory may be very old, in the past, 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. But what happens is when we experience a negative event, it disrupts the energy flow in the body and mind, so it causes a psychological or physical problem.
Absolutely. It's because that memory is a shock to the energy system. It's like an interference. And it doesn't matter how long it happens. And once it happens, then you could think of it as like there's a partial flow of energy. It's not completely blocked, because we need energy to nourish and feed our whole entire bodies, So we're talking about a partial blockage.
Sounds very good. So, I mean, if there is just one solution to vast problems, vast variety of problems, then it's awesome, and it's very good to learn, because I know it's easy to apply too. So is it something that everyone can do?
Absolutely. Now, the way this was set up, so EFT has a specific procedure. It's like step by step by step. Now, and if you follow that, you're going to get results. But built into it, right, in each step is problems or things that like therapists know, right, that In other words, that will be addressed, but you don't
Yes.
have to know. For example, right, it doesn't matter. You don't need to know whether the problem is in a stomach meridian. Right? A meridian is just a specific flow of energy in the body.
Yes.
So you have a stomach meridian, so there's an energy system that gives the energy to the stomach. There's a heart meridian, there's a
Yes.
lung meridian. So we're basically working with 12 different meridians, right? And the two governing vessels, the two main energy flows. Okay?
So it covers almost every organ system in the body.
Exactly. So as you use this, as you apply it, as you tap in each point, which we'll get into in a minute, right? You are addressing, right? You are going to hit that point enough time to do something. You don't need to know, oh, it's the problem is in this meridian. You
Right.
see what I'm saying?
Right.
And there's some psychological things that might get in the way of it being effective, which is automatically put into the process. So every person can get really good results just by following the simple steps.
So how do we do EFT?
Okay, so it's a very simple process, really. The first step, I'm going to break it down to literally step by step, okay?
Yes.
So the very first step is you want to identify the problem, okay? And so in this case, let's use fear, because there seems to be a lot of fear in the air, you know?
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, you identify the problem. What's going on? What's happening? Well, I'm afraid. I'm feeling fear, okay? And you want to just try and connect it to what it might be about. So, you know, I'm afraid of what's going to happen in our future. Or if it's a fear of heights, you just like, you know, okay, I have this fear of heights. I get terrified, you know. So you want to just kind of, that's what we're going to work on, that one specific part of the problem.
So you specify the problem as much as you can with the patient.
Exactly. You know, but we're going to keep it simple in the beginning.
All right.
So I have this fear. Next step is you want to measure the intensity of the fear, right? Well, how do you do that? We're talking about energy, emotion. How do you measure an emotion? Well, to make it really simple, we just kind of use like a scale of 0 to 10. 0 is no fear, 10 is like the worst fear imaginable. And so you just say, okay, I'm afraid right now. And you just kind of, you know, on 0 to 10, what would you rate your fear? You know, and so let's say it's not too intense, but it's pretty strong. I might say it's 6. Okay?
So first number to come to the mind.
First number
usually.
to come to the mind. In other words, in time, you're going to gain experience at gauging your emotions, at measuring it. It's going to be automatic. So don't worry about getting it wrong. You just want to get the first thing that comes into your mind. And if you're off a little bit, it doesn't matter. Because the main thing is, once you get this baseline, then as you do the EFT and you release, you're going to recheck to see where, you know, what's different. Because the
Yes.
changes are very subtle at first, and this will help you notice a difference. So the next
Yes.
step after that,
Tapping points, I believe.
right? Well, it's called the setup,
Yes.
and the setup is okay. So you're going to start at your very first point, and it's the karate chop point. That's what they call it. And
Or
with
friends point,
yeah.
you know, when you shake hands.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty
Okay.
cool. So there's the first point is right here, right where this bone is. It's like when karate experts would like break a board, it'd be like, ha! That's the point. So, and you just want to gently tap it. Now we're going to use 2 fingers, okay? We're going to use the index
Index finger
finger
and
and the middle finger. So you don't have to worry too much about, you have enough of a surface area to reach the point. So you don't have to worry so much. So you're just going to start tapping here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say an affirmation, so to speak, right? We're going to say a statement out loud three times in a row while we're tapping this point, just like this. You don't have to hit hard and you don't have to hit soft, you know? Just a nice gentle tapping to get a vibration going. So, and what you want to do is, so you say, for example, even though I have this fear of heights,
So actually you accept that you have a fear. It's sort of psychological reversal, isn't it?
exactly. That is exactly this first step is to prepare the way for EFT to work. If there's
Yes.
any resistance, right? Which we call psychological reversal or secondary gain, or like a self-sabotage thing, right? These are all things a therapist would know. But sometimes we want to get better, but something subconsciously stops us. So this setup, this first part, this statement, is to automatically correct that. But see, if you just follow the steps and you just do it, you don't really have to fully understand what it is we're doing just yet. That could come later, but it's not necessary to get a benefit from this. You understand?
Right. Right.
So the purpose of this is to identify the problem, put it into words,
Yes.
and also to accept yourself. Because we judge ourselves so much. So you tap in here and it's very simple. Even though I have this fear of heights, I love and accept myself. Even though I have this fear of heights, I love and accept myself. Even though I have this fear of heights, I love and accept myself. And so you're saying it's okay to be human. You're basically, acknowledging that you have a problem and you're forgiving yourself for it, basically.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then the next step, what you want to do is you go into the sequence. Now you're going to start tapping all the points.
Right.
And the first point is up here. It's the crown. Like the crown chakra. There's a bunch of points there, and you're just going to tap, and you could use just all your fingers in that area, right? And now you want to focus on the problem, so you have a reminder phrase. So you're just going to tap and think this fear.
This fear.
Okay? And then the next point is right where the eyebrow begins, okay? And you're just going to gently tap here, and you're just going to say,
fear.
This fear. And then the next point is the side of the eye. Tapping again. It's about 7 taps when you actually say the statement, right? And this fear of heights. Next point is right here, under the eye, right there on the bone, like an inch from the pupil.
Yeah.
Right? This fear. Next point, under the nose. This fear. Always saying each time the reminder phrase, because you might get distracted. This will keep you focused on what you're tapping about. Next point is under the chin point.
Chin point.
Right,
Yeah.
just be below the lip. You're just going to tap over here. This fear. Next point is the collarbone point, and basically there's a little U-shaped notch in your throat, and you just go down and over a little bit.
Yeah.
It's where the collarbone connects to the sternum.
Yeah.
So you're going to just tap here, this sphere. Then you have just under the nipple, this sphere. And then you have under the arm, which is kind of like if it was a woman where the bra strap would go, right?
Yes.
And the men, it's just mid nipple line.
Yes.
And you're just going to tap here. Then you work on the thumb, okay? So it's going to be right here at the corner of the thumb, okay? Like off to the side. And you just tap this fear. And then the index finger, same kind of point, right? This fear. The middle finger to the side again, this fear. And then the little baby.
We skip the ring finger?
You do, because we're going to address that point a little bit further in just a moment. So then you tap over here, again, this fear. Now, that's the first sequence. Then you want to do something called a gamut point. And so right where the
ring finger and middle finger, between ring and middle finger?
Right. Just below, right, where they kind of intersect, it's like a triangle, right, is a little indentation, and you're going to tap here. So, again, you're just thinking, oh, this fear of heights, okay? Now, from here, while you keep tapping, you're going to do the gamut procedure, right? And all you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes, you're going to open your eyes, you're going to look to the left, look to the right, or vice versa, right? But you're going to look hard down, right and left. Then you do a circle one way, a circle the other way. Then you're going to hum a tune. We recommend like Happy Birthday, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And then you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the reason you do that, when you're humming, you're activating the...
Right side of your brain?
Correct, the right side of the brain.
When you're counting,
Yeah, the left
of
side,
your
which is
brain.
that like logical,
Yeah,
and the other side's
mathematical,
creative. And the eye movement is accessing actually different parts of the brain, because
Yes.
different parts of the brain also has some other like memory point experiences connected, reside there,
like rewiring.
like a rewiring type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you go back to the top and do the sequence again, and it seems complex, but you're going to see how quickly you can do this in just a minute. So again, you're always working top to bottom. That's how you remember. So you do the crown, okay, the
sphere,
eyebrow,
the sphere,
side of the
sphere,
eye, under the eye.
sphere,
The sphere, saying the whole time, the sphere, thank you, the sphere. Under the nose, the sphere. Chin,
sphere,
the sphere. Collarbone, the
sphere.
sphere. The nipple,
the sphere,
just below, the sphere. Back here, the sphere.
the sphere.
Back to the fingers,
The
right? The sphere, the sphere, the sphere, and end it with the karate chop point, the
The
sphere.
sphere.
Now, that's actually one round. So it's like, okay, it's kind of like a cheese sandwich, right?
Yes.
That's, you have the setup, right? And then the first sequence, top to bottom,
Yes.
right, is one slice of bread. The gamut point is like the cheese, and then the other slice of bread is again doing a sequence again. I don't know if that helps or makes sense, but it's
It did
it's a way to
help me,
visualize it.
when I learned
So-
first time.
So I'm going to pull this all together so you can actually see how quickly it is in just a moment. But so then the next step is you've got to test what just happened. And the
That's
way you
right.
do that is, again, you reevaluate the feeling. So you just check with yourself, If it's a memory, when you were afraid of heights somewhere, and then you think about that, or you think about being on top of a ladder, right? And you check, okay, where's the fear now? What's it feel like? And very often, you're going to notice that it doesn't quite feel the same.
From
It-
0 to 10 scale, is it?
Back to the 0 to 10. So if it was a 6, and I tapped, and I just feel a little relaxed. I'm not as tense,
Yes.
right? It's a very subtle thing at first. So then, based on that, that means something happened. If I'm more relaxed, we let go of something. Relaxation actually means release. So then let's say I'm a 4, okay? I'm a 4.
Yeah.
Well, the goal is we want to get it down to 0 where we don't feel nothing. And that's very possible in one session. So then we do it again. Now this time I'm going to do it again, and I'm just going to just do it like I would normally do it. And so you can actually see, Lily, how quick this can be. So again, and this time when you do the second tapping session, you want to acknowledge that you release something.
Yes.
So you change the reminder phrase a little
bit.
And you say this remaining fear.
Yeah.
Okay, because that means, so we're acknowledging something happened,
Something released already.
right? And now we're just working on what's left over.
Yeah.
So even though I have this remaining fear of heights, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this remaining fear of heights, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And even though I have this remaining fear of heights, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And then you start tapping, oh, this remaining fear of heights, this remaining fear of heights, this remaining fear of heights, this remaining fear, 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 this remaining fear. We're at the gamut point now. I close my eyes, I open my eyes, I look down to the left, I look down to the right, I do a big circle one way, big
The other
circle
way
the other,
around.
this remaining fear. Then I hum, I count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I hum again. I'm already relaxing.
Yes.
I did have a fear of heights, actually. So then, back to the top. Always top down, one point to the next. So this fear of heights, 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 this fear of
It's very
heights,
good.
this fear of heights. Okay? So now I just did a second round. And again, I just check with myself. I think about the problem, whether it's a memory or this focus on the fear. I think about it a little bit, and again, I ask myself, where's my fear now? And most often, you'll find that you became more relaxed. Okay? And that's the process. The goal is to get it down to zero. And when you get it down to zero, whatever you release is gone for good.
Yes.
So it literally can be that simple. And in my experience, right, sometimes people, they maybe stop too soon rather. Right?
Yeah.
So I recommend a minimum of 5 complete rounds. All right, 1 round again is the setup, the first sequence, the gamut point, and then the second sequence.
But sometimes people don't want to do that, to my experience. When they have 3, 4 of the level of fear or memory, they say, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine.
Yeah, and so, but really what you want to do, and yeah, people feel a little better that, they're happy.
They don't want to do it anymore.
But I really encourage is like you go for 0, because if you go for 0 and you literally totally free up that energy, right, then that problem is gone for good.
Yes.
I mean, what happened, with Roger Callahan, the very first client, right? He was doing traditional psychotherapy, and wasn't getting anywhere.
He tried everything.
It was a phobia of water.
Yeah.
And he was studying the energy systems, and for the heck of it, he just tapped under her stomach meridian, right? That's where fear is basically, usually resides, let's say.
Yeah.
And she felt a little nauseous because it was the stomach meridian, so her stomach was a little upset. And then all of a sudden she realized that the fear was completely gone. This woman, Lily, ran to the nearest pool, because they were working like in a hotel or something, and splashed water on her face and that sort of stuff. So it can be that quick.
So actually it's very effective technique. We both know, we were working with this technique at least 15 years, and it works every time. How about the results?
Well, okay, so it's 100% effective. Now let's say you tap, right? Let's say you tap, you get it down to 0, everything's fine, but then maybe a couple days later you feel the fear again. Yes. Doesn't mean it didn't work. Now we're talking about aspects. We focus sort of in a general way, but you might have been, when a negative memory gets stored as negative, it stores based on the 5 senses. So it records any sounds associated, anything you see, physical sensations, feelings. Right? So let's say in the fear of heights, let's say, right? There is specific aspects of it. It could have been a specific memory, or maybe the movement of the ladder as you're on top of the ladder. It's like, and so something happens that got triggered, and that just means that there's another piece that you have to work on to completely eliminate it. So it doesn't mean it didn't work, right? It just means something about that.
Something surfaced related to that
problem. Something surfaced, and it needs more cleaning. Now, as you practice this, you can get actually really good with learning all the aspects and the things to look for, right? To be able to, neutralize it effectively in one session. But this is just a starting point.
Yes.
When you do the reminder phrase, just this fear, this fear, this fear, this fear can be enough. And after a while, right, when you start saying it 20 times, it almost seems silly. Something shifts in that. So it really does work. But what you were basically asking is like,
does result last?
Exactly. So the result does last, especially when you get all the issues.
Yes, all the aspects of the
problem. All the aspects. So what I mean by so actually even the most simplest way to do this program is really like you talk about it like you're telling a story to your therapist about what happened. So let's just say you had a negative event about anything really. Let's do a general with what's going on in the world. I'm going to do it really fast, okay?
All right.
So basically, it's like this. So I do I identify the problem. I'm fear. I'm a little worried about our future here. The whole world seems to be unfolding, and it's kind of scary. So I have anxiety sometimes, right? And so what I do is I just think about it, okay?
Okay.
And so right now I say my anxiety with that is about a 4, because I've been doing some
Awesome.
work on it.
Yes.
But I'm going to do it right in front of you, okay? So even though I'm worried about my future, right, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I'm worried about my future, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And even though I'm worried about my future, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So that's the setup. Now, instead of just saying this fear, I'm going to just talk about what comes to my mind, what's happening in my inner world. I'm just going to describe it to you.
Sure.
I'm really worried, This coronavirus thing is freaking me out, I'm afraid that I might get sick, or someone I care about might get sick, or, my neighbor might get sick. And all these things are happening. Places are closing down. Some places they're panicking over, not having enough food. And it's hard to ignore because I can't help but notice that these things are going on. And I'm really scared. I'm really worried about what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, and that's what really scares me, Okay, that's what really scares me, because it's like the fear of unknown, right? And so I'm really terrified. And that's just kind of speaking from my experience, right? And I'm doing a 9 gamut now, and I just close my eyes, open my eyes, look to the left, look to the right, big circle one way, big circle the other way.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. I'm scared, I'm worried about the future. I don't know what's going to happen, places are closing down, there's the tension in the air, people are just really worried, and well, I'm worried too. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. None of us do. And it's really kind of terrifying. I'm really worried about the future. I can't stop thinking about the future. That's all I'm thinking about. And I feel, hopeless and powerless sometimes.
Terrifying.
Okay? So I just did 1 round, right? And I do actually feel
I feel better too, just by watching you.
And so now I would just see, okay, what's my level? Well, if it was a 4, it's maybe it's a 3. If there's a slight shift, you just feel a little relaxed, then, then it might just be like, it's not always big. So you might go from a 4 to a 3.
Yes.
A 3 to a 2. Sometimes you go from a 4 and you just felt really relaxed, and it feels more like a 2. So that's a more specific way of working with things. Or sometimes if it's like a collective, like a long-term thing, like people who had an abusive relationship,
Yes.
you just take one memory at a time and you work that,
One step at a time, one day
step at a time.
at a time. Okay, what can one do to learn more about EFT?
Okay, so what I recommend is that you actually go to the source of where this all started. And so if you go on the internet and you put in www.emofree.com, emofree.com. That is Gary Craig's website. And so this is Gary's gift to the world, because he really wants everybody to be able to really help themselves, right? And so you get on the website and there's a little button for the golden standard of EFT, because there's actually advanced versions, but this is where you want to start, right? Because this is the foundation of everything. And here's the thing, it is literally completely free. You can learn the basic recipe, right? It actually takes you from where to start, right? all the information in writing, all the points, everything we talked about, explaining everything in more detail. Plus, at the end of that is usually a supportive video that will show you what he's talking about.
Yes.
So at the end of that first segment is a video of him actually talking about the points again.
Awesome.
And it's not just, and he's using examples of real life cases. He's doing it, it was before, but
Yeah.
these videos are actual people, actual therapy.
That's right.
Broken down in a way where in an easy to learn format. So I'm encouraging you again, right, to go to www.emofree.com, and now we just made it available to you. We kind of gave you an idea that, look, this is something you can do when you're anxious and nervous and you're feeling stress, and it applies to almost everything. In fact, that's sort of their motto. Try it on everything, because it works for pain control.
Yes.
If you have pain, you could actually bring your pain down. It works on so many things.
Yeah,
So
physical pain and mental.
if you have a negative anything, you
yes.
might want to try EFT on it. But now you have to take the reins and go from there. And I guarantee you, again, it won't cost you anything. And he literally tells you step by step what you need to know, and it will take you from a very beginner to a more advanced understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And also for like therapists and doctors and people in the healthcare profession, there's a whole area where you can even learn this as a physician, as a professional, and there's certifications and that sort of thing. But
So I think main aspects of freedom is to be able to help ourselves.
absolutely.
And EFT gives us that opportunity to help ourselves and loved ones at home, in our free time.
Now, if I may, if
Please.
the main thing is like you have to do it. So and you don't want to wait until you're almost in panic mode. So if you're watching television and things are starting to really upset you, take a break. Or while you're watching the television, you could literally just tap, because you're already focused on the problem.
Yes.
And so if you're just tapping your, the meridian points, you almost don't even have to say anything, because you're seeing it and you're
TV's
reacting
saying
to it.
for you.
TV's saying it for you. You know what I mean? And if you catch it early enough, so if you are only at a 3, if you do it when you start to feel anxious and you tap it, it's gonna go away quickly. Right?
That's
And
right.
you're going to have a more clear head. You're going to feel calmer. That's going to help you think things through. You're going to take care of your family better. You're going to handle this new information, this new situation in a way that's good for everybody.
Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure is mine.
See you next time.
Take care.
Now it's time to demonstrate the basic recipe for you. Before we begin, I'm going to assume that you've already read the tapping tips, the tapping points, and the 5 steps to the basic recipe that preceded this video. So the first thing we're going to do now is identify our issue. Our issue in this case we're going to assume is a sore shoulder, just for demonstration purposes. And then the next thing we want to do is make a before assessment on its intensity, on the 0 to 10 number for it. And so I'm going to assume, let's just call this an 8. So we have a sore shoulder at an 8 intensity. Now, the next thing we do is the setup, and the setup is simply to tap this karate chop point while we say a phrase. And the phrase goes like this: even though I have this blank, I deeply and completely accept myself. The blank you fill in with whatever the issue is. In this case, it's a sore shoulder. It could be this inability to shoot free throws while playing a basketball game. It could be these nightmares I've been having for years. It could be any one of a number of things. We're just going to choose, we're filling the blank here with this sore shoulder. So the process looks like this. First of all, let's just identify the karate chop spot. You've already seen it, on the tutorial, but it's that fleshy part of the hand that is on the outside of the hand. It's a part of your hand with which you would do a karate chop if you were to do a karate chop. So we just tap in there with 2 or more fingers while we say the following. Even though I have this sore shoulder, I deeply and completely accept myself. See, just takes seconds, and that's all there is to it. Now, from there, we go to the sequence. A little more involved, a few more tapping points. And I'm going to go through each of the tapping points for you now. And you can just tap along with me if you wish, or identify them, touch the points yourself as you do this. And that will just help you memorize it all the easier. We're going to combine tapping with each of these tapping points with what we call a reminder phrase. And that reminder phrase is just a very brief statement that reminds our system what it is we're working on. So in this case, it's just going to be this sore shoulder. Easy. So the first point is going to be the top of the head. And I usually take 4 fingertips like this, and I just put it at the top of the head right there, and I just tap around in there. I usually just cover a little larger area to make sure I got everything. And while you tap the top of the head, you say, this sore shoulder. Okay? Some people, by the way, will just take the flat of their hand and just pat like that. You can do that as well if you wanted. The next point is we call it the eyebrow point. It's actually the beginning of the eyebrow. If you just put your fingers at the top of your nose and go up a little bit and over to one side, I went over to my right side in this case. That's the eyebrow point. Now you could have gone to the left side. That's also the eyebrow point. These are the twin points that we discussed in the tutorial, but you only need to tap one of them. So we're going to take 2 fingers and we're just going to cover a nice large area there and just tap right there while we say this sore shoulder. Okay? You've seen the reminder phrase. The next point is the side of the eye. Now it's not back here where the temple is. It's on the actual bone on the outside corner of the eye. It's right there. And so we'll tap that with a couple of fingertips while we say a reminder phrase, this sore shoulder. The next point is under the eye. It's located about 1 inch below the pupil on that bone underneath the eye there. And we'll take a couple of fingertips and we'll tap there and say, this sore shoulder. Okay. The next point is under the nose. Easy enough. We just tap right under the nose. In fact, let me turn this way so you can see it from this angle. And as we tap, we say, this sore shoulder. See, the next point is the chin point, and that point is located midway between the between the bottom of the lip and the chin point, right in between there. In fact, I'll turn this way so you can see that. Okay, that's the chin point, and as we tap that, we say a reminder phrase, in this case, this sore shoulder. Now, the next point is a little more difficult to describe. We call it the collarbone point. It's not actually on the collarbone or what we call the clavicle. That's not really where it is. It's right at the beginning of the collarbone point. And I'm going to pull my shirt down here and get the microphone out of the way if I can. There are 2 points here, and they're located, let me see, right there. The way you find those is you take your fingertip and you put it at the base of your throat where that soft spot is, and it's also where at the very top of the breastbone there's a sort of a U. You feel it right in there. From that point you go down toward the navel about 1 inch, and then over to the right or to the left, either side. I'll go over to my right, and that's the beginning of the collarbone point, and you would tap right there. Now you'll see me tap that point a lot on the companion videos if you have those. But I'm going to show you an easier way to get to it as a beginner, and you can use this if you choose. And that would be to take your fist and to thump at the top of your breastbone about where a man would mount his tie. That's easy to do, easy to remember, and actually you'll probably cover both points as you do that. Now, the final point, and as we do that, we want to say our reminder phrase, which is this sore shoulder. Now, the last point is, we call it under the arm. But we have to be clear here. Under the arm doesn't mean like here. That's under the arm. But we mean under the arm on the rib cage. And the way you find the point is you take your fingertip, you put it in your armpit, and you go down towards your waist on your rib cage about 4 inches. And that's where the point is. And so you would either, I like to tap with, like 4 fingers there. But some people just slap it like that while we say our reminder phrase, this sore shoulder. Well, another way to locate that point is for the men, it's right even with the nipple. So you just went around from the nipple, went around, there's your point. And for the ladies, where the bra strap goes across the rib cage, right in the middle of that is where you would tap it, okay? So that's simple enough. We've now got the setup, we've got the sequence. All we need to do after we do a round of this is that let's assess now, see, how was our issue? How was our sore shoulder? And for this demonstration, I'm going to say, that's a little better, because that's typical. What number is on a scale of 0 to 10? Well, let's say it's a 4. Well, okay, we went from an 8 to a 4. That's about a 50% improvement. Yeah, that feels about right, okay? But we're not down to 0. So what we do is we repeat the whole process, and we assess again. Oh, maybe now we're a 2, maybe we're 0, but we keep going until we're either 0 or we plateau at some level. If we're 0, of course, we're done. If we plateau at some level, that simply means we need to learn more about EFT, other things to do with the basic recipe, and that's covered in part 2 of this tutorial.